Have you made your substitute teacher manual yet? Or how about customizing planner forms or kindness reminders? I have so many of these things on the Cool Cat Teacher store. Just go to store.coolcatteacher.com and use the code podcast for 50% off anything in the store. Now on with the show. 5 ideas for a positive cultural impact in your school, episode 355. The 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with Vicki Davis. Every weekday, you'll learn powerful, practical ways to be a more remarkable teacher today. Today, we're talking with Erin Polansky about 5 ideas for a positive cultural impact. Erin does have a children's book that's not quite a children's book called Dolphins in Trees, but is that you've won awards as a Wrestler of the Year, as a Principal of the Year. 2015, you won the Frederick Douglass Award for helping at-risk youth, and now you're a superintendent. So you have kind of a wide variety of experiences. So where do we start with a positive cultural impact?
I think it starts with people and connection. First, I'll preface this by saying none of the ideas I'll share are my own. They've come as a result of connections outside of my school network, where I've really sought out the expertise of people I look up to. The first idea was Positive Sign Thursday. If you put hashtag Positive Sign Thursday into Twitter, you'll find Brian McCann, who is the Digital Principal of the Year for NASSP and works at Case High School. And every Thursday, he goes out and greets the kids as they're coming into school with a really cool quote that has a hashtag before it. He takes selfies with the kids and puts them online, and I feel like his students in his community have really responded incredibly to it. We tried that at my former school and had a phenomenal response. Parents get into it, students get into it, staff get into it, and it really sets a beautiful tone for the culture.
Okay, so give me an example of what one of the signs might say.
Today, you'll do great things, or make it a great day. And it's just a reinforcement of a positive mindset as the students get off the bus and start their day.
Love it. Okay, what's our second?
The second idea I wanted to share was an idea that came from Bill Burkhead of the Monomoy schools. And what Bill did was he had every member of his teaching staff write a letter to a student highlighting something wonderful about that student. And then those complimentary recognition pieces were hung in the hallway of his school. And I call it the Wonder Wall, but it's such a beautiful tribute to making sure that every student matters, and really a wonderful representation of staff connecting with every student.
Oh, I love that. And, Nancy Blair, who's a principal here in Georgia, has a similar idea where she had all of her staff list every student they could think of in 4 minutes. And then they went and identified the students that weren't top of mind for a teacher and intentionally focused on those students because they wanted every student to have a relationship with somebody. And those relationships and knowing you matter are just vital. I totally agree with you, Erin. Okay, what's our third?
So the third is an idea I saw at Blue Ribbon Schools Conference in Orlando last year, around November. It was a school from Alabama, and they showed a photograph of all of the parking spaces that were painted by the student drivers. So the students had the opportunity to actually paint their own parking space and create their identity or represent who they were in their parking space. The elementary school kids did the same thing using ceiling tiles. And so it was use of art to represent self, both at the high school and the elementary levels. And I just thought it was a beautiful way for the students to express themselves and share it with their school community.
Because you're making it theirs. You're letting them make a mark. I love it. Okay, what's our fourth?
So the fourth is from one of my former instructors. When I was the assistant principal and principal at Bristol County Agricultural High School, Brian Vastorak taught natural resource management. And every time you walked into the class, it was like a shark and a seal, but nonviolent. There would be a student who would come right up to you and greet you with a handshake, look you in the eye, and introduce themselves. And then they would tell you exactly what it was that they were covering in the class. So it was a way for the student to be responsible for greeting a guest, understanding the objective that's taking place in the classroom, and working on their literacy skills. So they're building relationships with guests in the classroom. And I'll tell you what happened was I'd intentionally bring guests of the school to his classroom because this response was so powerful. I ended up renaming it, and I call it Who's the Mayor? But what I've done at the school I'm at now is I shared it with one teacher over the summer and just told her how impressed I was with what had happened as a result of this. And last week, the first week of school, I walked into her classroom, and within seconds, a young lady walked up to me and said, "My name's Nikki. It's nice to see you. Let me tell you what we're doing today." And I thought to myself, these are the true life skills that students need to be successful in the real world. And so I loved the idea of Who's the Mayor, and I hope it's spread throughout the school I'm at now, because the benefits for the students and for the guests are certainly considerable.
Wow. So every day the child knows who's the mayor or knows who's in charge.
Absolutely. And it gives them student voice, such a pertinent piece of what we're trying to develop in our young students.
Oh, I love that, because I like to shake the hands of every single student as they enter the room. When someone comes in our room, I teach them to shake their hand and look them in the eye. But I love this idea of having kind of a designated greeter. I guess I have to wrestle with it in my mind, how I'm going to add that to my classroom procedures. What a fantastic idea. Okay, what's our fifth, Aaron?
So the fifth is for our staff members to hang a picture of their hero in their classroom with the words, "Ask me," underneath the photo. And it's a conversation starter. It's an opportunity for students and other staff members to ask them why the picture of the person hanging on their wall is representative of a hero to them.
Wow. Who's your hero?
Well, I've got a lot of them, but I'd say my parents, because they're such wonderful people. Certainly my wife for the work that she does with our children and to take care of our home. And I think also my high school wrestling coach, who earned his college degree at a later time and is now the director of wellness and physical education for the Natick Public Schools, made such a huge impact on my life. And I really look up to the way he conducts himself and what he's done for the thousands of students who have moved through the Natick Public Schools.
Aaron, you're known for helping people think about things differently. And you do, we're going to mention you have a children's book that's not quite such a children's book called Dolphins in Trees. You see this as a leadership tool. So give us one leadership thought for us as we are listening to this on our 5 Idea Friday that we can take with us that you really talk about in your book.
I think the book's about not making assumptions, and I think the book is about the gift that we get when we give of ourselves and what a reward it is to help somebody else. And if we can be reflective in our thought processes around what it means to truly provide for other people, I think it results in a life of true fulfillment.
It certainly does. I was actually conversing with one of my former students on Facebook today, and she had reshared something about a person they had written about, how they were left out so much in their life. And that was me. I mean, I had a period of a good 4 years of my life where I was, pretty picked on. And part of the emergence from that time for me was when I stopped focusing on me and I started saying, you know what, there's all these other kids left out too. I'm going to be the one who includes them. I'm going to take the focus off myself and focus on others. And it really does make a difference, doesn't it, Aaron?
It's an amazing thing. If we could teach people to love who they are and to love what they do and to help other people do the same, I think we've set them up for a true path to happiness. Okay,
so as we finish up, Aaron, give us a 30-second pep talk about really changing school's cultural impact and being a positive place.
I saw a quote from David Guerin online: if your school is about test scores, then you're more focused on adults than you are students. And I loved that. I think that we need to think outside the box. We need to be innovative. We need to not be afraid to really move beyond our comfort zones and teach our students to do the same thing. Let's build our curriculum around their dreams and ask them what's important to them, and then find ways to help them chase those dreams. And if we could do the same thing for our staff, I think school could be a pretty spectacular place.
Wow. Build our curriculum around their dreams. That is a thought worth pondering over this weekend. Thank you for listening to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast. You can download the show notes and see the archive at coolcatteacher.com/podcast. Never stop learning.